So, happy Solstice. Hope you're having a great June the 21st. If you're watching in the future, don't worry about it. The best time to watch these videos is always now, the moment you're actually drawn to watch them. You're drawn to watch them for a reason. But in this video, we are going to do a reading really soon, but first let's talk about Mercury Retrograde, which is actually ending tomorrow on June the 22nd. Now, it's gone on, essentially, well, the proper Mercury Retrograde has gone on since the 29th of May, but before that, from May 14th to 29th, we had a pre-shadow phase, and then after it ends tomorrow, we're going to have a post-shadow phase through to July the 7th, actually. So a couple of weeks to go there, most certainly. Now, the big thing about this Mercury retrograde, apart from the fact that it's Mercury retrograde, which I think is certainly big enough for most of us to have to deal with, is that the whole thing has happened square Neptune, the way the planets line up. And Neptune is the planet of confusion, so it becomes very easy for people to lie to us and misrepresent things. And so it's been a real difficult time between people, actually. In a way, it always is, because Mercury retrogrades work through communication, and the work they're doing is to try and raise awareness of any blind spots that we may have in ourselves to do with our awareness of other people. And sometimes we can feel lied to, even if we're not being lied to, particularly with the square Neptune aspect. So it's been pretty confusing, on top of the usual Mercury retrograde things of anything to do with communication, pretty much going up the spout, or certainly being very difficult. So we are actually coming to the end of that now, which is good news. And although I'm still talking about, we've got this post-shadow phase to come through until July the 7th, we are looking at things becoming a lot easier to understand at this time, and pretty much at this point in time if you're watching on the day that the video comes out. And as I say, don't worry, if you're watching in the future, there's going to be something in this video that you kind of need to know, so do stick with it. I've got my cat joining me down here. You're going to come up and say hello? It's Tinkerbell. No, she's run away. There you go. That's what cats do. I guess it's cat retrograde as well today. So right, what actually happens with a Mercury retrograde is that Mercury is going forward on its journey through the universe, and it slows down and it stops. It doesn't really stop. This is the way like an optical illusion almost, as we're seeing it from Earth, because Mercury is always kind of moving ahead on its trajectory. But as we view it from Earth, it appears to stop, stand still, and that is Mercury retrograde station. And then Mercury actually goes back for whatever, 2, 3, 4 weeks. It varies. It really does vary. And this time the whole thing has happened in Gemini. So when Mercury actually started slowing down on the way to the retrograde, it was in 16 degrees Gemini and got there in at 24 degrees Gemini. And then the retrograde itself took Mercury all the way back to the 16 degree Gemini mark again, so it moved backwards, and now it stations direct at 16 degrees Gemini, and the next couple of weeks are as Mercury moves back to 24 degrees Gemini, and that happens quite slowly. Mercury sort of speeds up, and then on the 7th of July, Mercury actually hits that magical point where it's 24 degrees Gemini again, and it takes off, and everything's good, because 24 degrees Gemini is exactly where Mercury should be then. And so it slows down, pre-shadow, stops, goes backwards, that's the actual Mercury retrograde, stops, speeds up again, and then off it goes, and we're out of Mercury retrograde, which has got to be good news, really. But it has been quite a difficult one, this one. It really has. At first I thought it was going to be an easy one. I thought I was going to get away with it. And then sort of in about the last week or so of Mercury retrograde, maybe 10 days, maybe a fortnight, but it was really intense the last week or so. Terrible, terrible trouble with the internet, and my internet provider sent an engineer out, and the engineer couldn't see that there was anything wrong or anything to complain about. And it just left me in a hopeless place, really. It sort of built up the channel and built it up and built it up. And at one point, I was seriously wondering if I was actually going to be able to keep on with the channel. Then I remembered it's Mercury retrograde, and this sort of stuff is pretty well bound to happen. So I've kept going. The only real lasting casualty, sadly, is my iPhone X, and I will insert a picture of it here. So there is the culprit. That cost me an absolute arm and a leg. It is a second-hand one, but for that reason it's out of warranty, so I can't send it back and get it fixed. And it just started doing robot language all the time. You know, I'd speak and it would come out distorted and horrible. So now I'm using my old iPod Touch. It's very old indeed, actually. I don't know how old, but many years old. And it seems to be working fine. I've just done 60-second tarot with it. And by the way, do check out my channel, because there's 60-second tarot pretty much every day. I'm bringing that one back. Lost touch with that one right through Mercury retrograde, actually, and now it's back. And as I say, we're not actually out of Mercury retrograde yet, but I can feel the communication issues easing. And as many of you know, I do readings all the time. It's what I do for a living. And through doing readings, you become aware of what's kind of bothering people, what's giving people trouble. And it really has been a cracker of a Mercury retrograde. But we're coming out of it now, and we find a lot of the explanations for things during the post-shadow phase. So even though we're still in the post-shadow, the aftermath, as it were, of Mercury retrograde, we start understanding things more. And that makes life feel a whole lot easier. Also, we're coming away from this Mercury square Neptune thing, which, you know, that's got to help. That's got to be a bonus. It really has. Anyway, friends, if you would like a private personal reading, do give me a shout. The email address is down there, 35and83@gmail.com. That is 35and83@gmail.com. But check it out. It's down in the description there, as well as a link to my coffee page where you can see the rest of this amazing garden. And look at this foxglove in the background. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? This is the cycle of nature. Just like Mercury goes on its cycle, nature is always on its cycle. And some plants, some flowers die off, and then more come in their place. And right now, all this beautiful foliage is kind of blocking the light out of the garden. But that is actually good news. And this is one of those things about Mercury retrograde. It teaches us things. So it's not entirely bad news. It just feels like bad news at the time. And, you know, I look at my garden and it doesn't look great because there's not much sun getting in. But when we go into the heat wave, it comes every year, and I'm sure it'll be here again soon. It was here last week. It won't be long until it's back. If I don't have all this stuff blocking out at least some of the light, all my potato plants die and it gets really hopeless. Also, it's not good for these things, which are my Jerusalem artichokes, which are growing a treat, actually. But it hasn't been a terribly easy year for them. So, you know, just like the weather comes and goes, Mercury retrograde and everything associated with that comes and goes. And the good news is it's going now. It's on its way out. And I couldn't be more delighted. I really couldn't. So on that note, friends, I'm going to go in the house. Just because it's a little bit windy and I don't want the cards blowing around everywhere. I'm going to go in the house and we will do a quickie reading. And here we are. So, June the 21st, very special day. A day when, as I was saying on my live last night, the veil between our worlds is actually very thin. In other words, spiritual communication is even more possible than usual. And friends, if you don't believe it's possible for you, all I can say is either give it a try or keep trying, because all things are possible. All things really are possible. So we're going to use two decks. We're going to use Tarot in Wonderland, the old faithful tarot deck that I use, and Keepers of the Light by Kyle Gray. Because, you know, we are all keepers of the light in one way or another. We all have our own mission in life. We all have certain things that we're meant to actually do to bring into being in our lives, which all have to do with the light of the world and making things real, making things happen. It's a birthing process, and if I show you the back of Kyle Gray's Keepers of the Light deck, you can see there's the Vesica Pisces there, which really is a symbol of birth, you know, and a spiritual birth. That really is what this whole mission, what this whole ministry, which we all have in this life, is about. So let's start off with the Keepers of the Light Tarot, Keepers of the Light card, and see what we get. And here we go. It's Kernunos, Life Force, and it says, express your driving passion. Where is it? Come on, there we go. Sensual and sexual powers are, what does it say? Increased. Couldn't read it backwards in the camera there, but it's Kernunos, all about life force and very green energy we see in this, very close to the pagan idea of spirituality, and that is a real important one at this time of the solstice, actually, because it is an earth festival. It is an earthy time, and so friends, I'm always saying it, try and get out into nature if you can, and if you can't physically get out into nature, fear not. You can always kind of cosmically get out into nature by just taking some quiet time and visualizing the natural place you'd like to be, by sending those roots down from your feet into the ground. And grounding yourself is a real wonderful thing to do spiritually, because you can still fly. The higher chakras can do their work even more effectively when you're grounded, because it is all about drawing down the wonders of the divine energy into this magical natural planet that we live on. So the first tarot card to go with that is this one. It's the Devil. It is number 15 in the Major Arcana, and the Major Arcana goes up to 22, so it's kind of 2/3 of the way through the journey, or something like that anyway. So the Devil card, now this really doesn't mean, you know, Satan, the horned devil, or anything to worry about in any way. It just means it's time to get things moving. There's a clock there. It's showing 6 p.m. or 6 a.m. Who knows, but it's definitely on a 6 there. And it just reminds us that there's a clock ticking, you know. We all have some light work that we have to do in this life, and it's always good to put everything you possibly can into that work. Okay, so I haven't got the camera on the table today. It's a journey to learn how to adjust these things, and it's a different camera which I haven't used for a long time, so I'm just going to hold them up, but we'll do 5 of each. That was number 1. What is going to be the second oracle card? Here we go. Melchizedek, Higher Learning. Take a look at that, and it says, you have learned from experience. More inner study is now required to further progress. More inner study, and this is all important really. It's about focusing on yourself. That is what really matters. Inner study, that's where it's at spiritually. You can study books until you're blue in the face, and this is something else that came up in last night's live video actually. And live 3 times a week if I can possibly manage it, by the way. Sundays and Wednesdays 3 p.m. Central USA time, that is 9 p.m. UK time. We are live on this channel. And Fridays 12 noon Central USA, 6 p.m. UK, we do a live video. Part of the reason I do 3 a week is that the internet is a bit unreliable, and if I'd say 3 a week, at least 2 of them get done. But hit the subscribe button, don't miss them, then I can pull cards especially for you. But if you picked card number 2, if you're thinking pick a card, which you may or may not have been thinking, this is card number 2, Melchizedek. It's very closely associated with alchemy and with the law of attraction, those 2 things working together. And the more you believe that that kind of thing can work, the more powerful an effect it's going to have in your life. And part of this is where it says you have learned from experience, because you really have, you know. Even if you're a small child watching this, which apparently the YouTube algorithm doesn't like it if that happens. But even if a small child was watching this, they do all have experience, you know. It's only that, well, actually even a newborn baby has some experience, just kind of hasn't learned to understand what experience is yet. But every living soul has experience. That's the message, and it always teaches us something. So Further progress, great stuff. It sounds a bit kind of bit stuffy, really, a bit like kind of reading books and stuff. But you know, spirit guides haven't always read all the books, and what really matters is what you find inside yourself, within your actual self. So the next card to go with that from the Tarot in Wonderland deck is this one, Judgment. We've got Major Arcana again. It's number 20. So this brings us close to the kind of culmination, the climax of the journey through the tarot. And in many ways, it's all about balance, this card. We can see the rabbit up in the clouds there blowing the trumpet, or is he the hare? I think he's the hare, actually. I think this is the Mad March hare, blowing the trumpet in a blaze of sunshine. And it looks anything but balanced. But actually, these blinding flashes of revelation we get are all part of balancing things out, because we are all eternal souls. It comes as a shock to many of us when we find that out, but we really are. That's where we're at. That's the kind of people we are. So card number 2, Judgment. Stuff is most definitely ready to happen when Judgment comes up. And using the law of attraction from Melchizedek there, that is really the best way to bring the amazing new journey forward into being. So we're coming to the third card from Keepers of the Light now. This is going to be the heart of the matter. Faith. Here we go. Faith, the twin flame of Archangel Michael, is Faith, and she says, humanity and benevolence. Stay calm, trust the good in yourself and others, see the light in the world. Now, as we come out of Mercury retrograde, a lot of us have been kind of unable to really get the most out of seeing the light in the world. It's been a time of, you know, real misunderstandings. As I said earlier, the whole thing happened square to Neptune, which in astrology is the planet that brings much confusion into things. And Mercury retrograde is always about communication problems. That's how it teaches us, and that is actually how we learn from it. So trusting the good in yourself and others has probably been a big ask, a difficult ask, for at least the last 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe a time within that 2 or 3 weeks. This Mercury retrograde only really got me in about the last 10 days. You know, it really did. Before that, it wasn't too bad. And it doesn't seem to be too bad now. Things seem to be working out. Things seem to be going well. It'd be great if my iPhone 10 worked out and then that started working again. But I think there's something wrong with that iPhone, so I just have to get on with it. But really, you know, I've got to have faith. And we've all got to have faith that we'll be able to keep going. Many Mercury retrogrades in my sort of 14 years or so on YouTube have made me wonder if I was ever going to be able to kind of keep going with YouTube. And I have done for 14 years despite all of it. So, you know, nothing is hopeless, nothing is the end of anything. Let's turn over another card. What have we got here? Okay, oh, Queen of Pentacles. Right, now, very good card for the heart of the matter, because this is the third of the tarot cards. She is the sheep shopkeeper, and she appears as the Six of Swords, I believe. She's the person operating the boat on the journey across water in the Six of Swords. But here she is as the Queen of Pentacles. And the story with this card is that Alice goes into the shop towards the end of her journey, because the Pentacles is the last suit in the tarot, and there's only one card after this in the whole deck, which is the King of Pentacles. So we're nearly at journey's end here when this card comes up. It's the middle card of the reading, so there's more to come, more to happen. But here she is, Queen of Pentacles, and Alice goes into the shop and wants to take something, and the Queen of Pentacles says to her, well, you can take whatever you like, you've earned it. So there you go, you've earned it. We've got through this Mercury retrograde. We've earned a bit more of the journey forward, which is super good news. The only thing is, the sheep shopkeeper doesn't give Alice what she wants off the shelf. She chooses an egg, and the sheep shopkeeper says, well, you'll have to get it yourself. I can't hand it to you. That would never do. And there is the mystery of tarot in Wonderland and the whole Alice in Wonderland thing there, which is a metaphor for the mystery of life, actually. So there you go. What that's really saying is, you know, you've really earned something going through not just this Mercury retrograde, but this whole life. We're earning our way forward. We're learning and we're earning as we go forward on our journey all the time. So be mindful of that, friends, and reach out for what you actually want, but be willing to put the effort in to get up and take it. Nobody is going to hand it to you on a plate. Okay, so moving on into the second part of the reading now. Card number 4 from Keepers of the Light, we have got Gaia, all about those earth connections, and another real earthy card, a bit like Kernanos that we started off with. So it's like starting another phase of the journey when we get here. Gaia, earth connection, and she says, be mindful of the planet, come back to earth, stay grounded. And that's a real important thing to do on Solstice Day, or if you're watching in the future, you've been drawn to this video now because the messages in it are for you now. I cannot emphasize that enough. It's amazing how our spirit guides, how our angels actually use the internet to connect us. It works because the internet works on light, on fiber optics really. Even if you haven't got a fiber optic computer in front of you, the internet is working on fiber optics, and it only takes a tiny bit of physical energy for a spirit guide or a spirit being or the angels to actually manipulate that fiber optic connection. And this is how we come together. It's all spiritually meant to be. And you're watching this video now because now is the time for this message. Believe me. Be mindful of the planet. Come back to Earth. Stay grounded. So important to do that, you know, and not just on the solstice, although I would say this is one of the best days of the year for it, this and the winter solstice in 6 months' time, around the 21st of December. Or maybe if you're watching actually in the southern hemisphere, this is the winter solstice, still a very auspicious time, and still on your way forward to the next solstice 6 months down the road. So here we go, card to go with that one. It's, what is it? It's number 17, trying to read the Roman numerals there. It's number 17. It is the Star, and this is an invitation to be absolutely at your best, to put your best efforts into everything, to try and make the best of situations. And that goes very strongly with this card actually, because it's through our earth connection, through our groundedness, that we can do that. And as I said a moment ago, we don't get very far on our spiritual journey without looking into the grounding side, without looking into the protection side. That is super important, and it frees you up not just to be yourself, but to be your best self. And this is a beautiful card. I'd say this is one of the best cards in the deck to look at. It's absolutely stunning picture there, isn't it? And there she is looking down into the pool of water, which essentially is the well of life. And sometimes you've got to kind of pull yourself out of life and see yourself as a little bit up and above life, just to get the thing into perspective. And being at your very best is the way to do that. And that is a big ask. Again, lots of big asks going on today, but it is Solstice Day. Just, you know, trying your best. That is the best you can be. You know, no one can ask any more than that. No one can be any better than that. That's the way it is, you know, trying your best, being your best. And so this brings us to card number 5 from Keepers of the Light, which then we'll have tarot card number 5. We've got Bridget, Inner Strength. There she is. One of my favourite cards, this one. And Melanie Mayon Radford will remember this one from quite a while ago. Very significant this was, and I'm sure still is. Bridget is all about inner strength, and she is saying, move back to wholeness. Recognise that you have the power. So we've all got a bit fragmented through Mercury retrograde, haven't we? We've just got to kind of defrag ourselves, a bit like defragmenting a computer. If you remember the days when we used to have to do that. I don't have to do that anymore because I use Linux. Hey. It just works so much better, and you don't give any money to Bill Gates. I absolutely love that side of thing. But that Linux thing, I mention it for a good reason. Actually, it brings me a bit closer to wholeness, as this card is saying, because I don't get bogged down in all the craziness of trying to keep a computer going. Linux just works and keeps on working, and you get updates and it keeps going. It's fantastic. Macs are similar, they're just so fabulously expensive that I don't use them. But having a stable computer that isn't always distracting you really allows you to do the whole kind of YouTube job, the whole internet job, whatever it is you do on the internet, without the distractions. So being defragmented like that and not having to worry about those things really does allow you to move back to wholeness. And it says recognize that you have the power. And many of us are probably feeling that our personal power has been more than a bit diluted as we've gone through this Mercury retrograde, because, you know, it was square Neptune and it was just Mercury retrograde, which is enough in itself to bring a lot of confusion into life. And it kind of gets us questioning who we are, what we're all about. And you know, I'm really no stranger to that. I've totally wondered what the hell was going on in the last week or so. But there we go. Now I've more or less worked it out. Okay. So the final card, and actually it is the Six of Swords. It's that other cheap shopkeeper card, card number 5 from the tarot deck, card number 10 all in all, I suppose. Six of Swords, it's that journey across water. Now, if you see, Alice is sitting in the front of the boat looking back, and all she can see is the rough water. They say never look back, but it's the only way she could fit into this boat, really. And the only way we could fit into this life, really, was by going through Mercury retrograde, which got us looking back and sideways and in all different directions, trying to find answers to things. But now we're coming out of it. That is going to change rather a lot, and it's great that we're coming out of it on the summer solstice, or the day after the summer solstice, but I can feel the energy changing already, coming into smoother waters. And the sheep shopkeeper there, who is actually driving the boat, can see those calm, clear waters ahead. Also, there are bare trees in the background, so very significant for you if you're watching in the southern hemisphere, in which case, you know, greetings from up north here. That will be the case. You know, there'll be no leaves on the trees and they will grow. Here, you know, we've got leaves on the trees, they will fall off and they will grow again. And this is the nature of how we can come into smoother waters, how things can be more like plain sailing as we go forward in our lives, with our spiritual quest, with our worldly quest as well. So things are definitely going to improve, bound to really, because Mercury retrograde is just about over, you know, and there'll be more Mercury retrogrades, but we'll get through them, we'll get over them. It's never bad news because it's always a learning experience. So with that, friends, I'm going to say thank you very much indeed for watching. Thanks so much for all your support. If you'd like a private reading, check out my email address down there in the description. It is 35and83@gmail.com. That is 35and83@gmail.com. Also, it would be real nice if you wouldn't mind considering supporting my work. 2 addresses down there, two links really. I don't know if YouTube will let them be clickable links, but they're links and they're down there. One is to my Ko-fi page, ko-fi.com/twig, and that will take you to my Ko-fi page where you can buy me a coffee or a tea, because I'm English, I drink tea. What can I do? But yeah, you can buy me a coffee or a tea. Or really, you'd be buying the channel a coffee or a tea, because I can see I'm going to have to get a new camera soon. Oh, it's so annoying. I spend so much on cameras and microphones and they always go wrong. But hell, that's life, you know. So anyway, that would be appreciated. And if you look at the Ko-fi page, there are also lots of pictures and photos of my life as it's going on. Pictures of the garden, pictures of the cats, pictures of whatever happens to me. It's almost like a Facebook page with me, and you can message me on there as well. Or, you know, it's a lot easier to use PayPal these days, isn't it? My PayPal link is down there too. That is paypal.me/twigbrother. Got to put the whole Twig Brother in, all one word. paypal.me/twigbrother. And there is actually a link to that on my About page on my channel. I got it on my channel. scroll along through like channel videos, community uploads, stuff like that, and right at the end is the about me page, and there's a donate button on there, so it'd be great if you guys wouldn't mind using that. In the meantime, I will see you again very soon. Thanks so much for watching. Do give me a thumbs up. Do hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything, because there are more videos coming up all the time. Hope to see you on the live videos coming up this week as well. That's going to be great to be getting those done again. I was a bit worried at one point, but we did a great one last night. And I mean, we did it. It's a joint effort. Everyone joined in, everyone helped, and that seemed to go pretty well. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the lives. That way I can pull some cards for you. Leave me a comment. It's always good to share the journey, and I will see you again in a future video. In the meantime, happy solstice, happy end of Mercury retrograde. Be good to each other. Love and light and blessings and peace.